morning, everybody. Welcome into your FreightWaves Now Community Spotlight on this Tuesday. We get to check in with Mary O'Connell, our host and writer of our Check Call community this morning. Mary, great to have you on this Tuesday. We talked to Mike Bowden-Distel yesterday about how sad we are that the Olympics are over. I got to know, how sad are you?
I'm very sad. I spent far too much time working with the Olympics on like that multi-view screen that you have of like the 4 to 5 different events. I was pretty invested. I'm also really sad that, I think the future of Kayak Cross is still unknown in the next Olympics. And that was my favorite event of the Olympics this year.
People who do that are crazy. It was wild to watch, I'll tell you that much. But we're excited for it to come back to us in 2028. Now we just have 4 long years to wait for the next one. Let's move into our topic for the day, for today, and it is Check Call. So we are covering the brokerage space, and today we're hitting on a really wide sweeping issue that I feel like has gotten a lot of attention recently, and that's cargo theft. And it's something that's not new, but everybody seems to be talking about it, and there seems to be a new solution for it popping up pretty much every week. What's going on with your folks that are on the show today?
So today we get to talk to GearTrack, and they are fantastic, and they have really kind of developed a scalable solution for tracking and visibility and different kind of like IoT things to really kind of help reduce the amount of cargo theft, or at least if your cargo does get stolen, kind of knowing where it ends up. Because as you've mentioned, cargo theft it's not new, but it's certainly new how expensive it is and how much it's grown over the past few years, or really just the past year. So it's become a very real problem that it's not really a matter of if your cargo gets stolen, it's just a matter of when it gets stolen. So that's something that I think is a new normal for everyone to adjust to. So it's something that is really important, and having anything in place for that solution is going to be better than nothing. So like, for example, one of the things that we talked about on the show today is, when you're starting some of these new ideas that you have for reducing cargo theft, or maybe putting in some new SOPs in place for where prime opportunities are, doing something is better than nothing. So our guest today recommends starting with some of those high value items. And starting with that is obviously going to work better than starting with your lower value items, just because if it does work, then, okay, you've saved quite a bit off the top. And not to mention, insurance companies like that, the high value items are going to get stolen less.
That's one thing that I think is really interesting, is kind of this relationship between insurance and the steps that you're actually taking to prevent cargo theft. Because as you mentioned, it's not an if, but it's a when that's going to happen, and making sure that maybe you put a bigger target on those lower value items. When it comes to the insurance perspective of this, how has the insurance industry changed to keep up with the amount of cargo theft that we're seeing right now? Or has it changed at all? Is it maybe a step behind still?
So insurance companies have really taken, because their whole thing is, they're protecting against should the worst happen. And so really it's all about mitigating that risk. So anything that you can do to mitigate that risk is really what they're pushing for, whether that's, and that's even from a carrier perspective. Like your carrier, their insurance costs are going up just as much as your shipper and, you as a broker are. So honestly, anything everyone can do across the board is going to help. So for example, carriers, insurance companies love them to have dash cams, or even offering subsidies for that. And so maybe having dash cams on the inside or like in the front, and then maybe one in the back, like that could be something that is a possibility. And then also just kind of knowing where your stuff is. And the really great thing that I know everyone's like, oh, AI is coming. Well, some of the really unique things that can do is when it comes, like, for example, if you have a route that there always seems to be a cargo theft, or there seems to be a problem with certain areas, or 100 or 200 miles in. Well, then if you kind of if the AI can catch that, or catch a little flag and exception, then I think it's really important to kind of say, okay, well, we see that within 200 miles of picking up this load, it's 50% more likely to get broken into, we're going to now have an SOP of saying, all right, well, any driver that's going into this area, they have to come in with a full tank so they can go more than 200 miles without needing to stop. So that way they can, so that way we reduce the risk there. So it's something, pretty much anything that you can show your insurance companies of saying, hey, this is a problem, and this is the steps that we're taking to mitigate this and reduce the exposure, they're going to be a big fan of.
So real-time tracking is something that we are seeing implemented in a lot of these technologies, but what does the outcome of that actually mean? Like if you can see, hey, I've got this load that's moved into this nefarious area, it looks like, oh my gosh, my cargo is now picked up and is moving down this random side street while my truck is moving in the opposite direction. But what do? You call the cops and say, hey, my load has been stolen, and the cops are like, I don't really want to do anything with this. Like what is the outcome? Or is it just the power of knowing and then you can adjust on the backside? Maybe you're never going to recover that stolen cargo, but you at least know what happened.
I mean, it's kind of both. Like, obviously, you want to know the second that your load is stolen, you want to know exactly where it occurred, because even if you don't recover that cargo, you still know where it happened, and you have that data point to say, okay, is this a weird one-off of this area, or is this something that's commonly happening in this area? And then also, depending on what happens with your freight. So for example, if they steal a trailer and you notice it and you say, okay, well, like, we can send that driver on his way. Obviously don't have him continue going one way. But if you have it on your freight, then you can say, okay, you can call the police. Obviously, no matter what, anytime there's cargo theft involved, go ahead, file a police report. Most of the time, there's not much they can do, because how do you track down something that you don't know where it is? But through the real live tracking, you can say, oh, hey, Mr. Policeman, my freight got stolen, but also here's where it is. So if you wanted to go check on that, that'd be great, because because otherwise they're just chasing a ghost, right? And that's not really something that you can successfully do. So it's something that any more information you can give them is going to help reduce this. If they can't recover that specific load, it could potentially help reduce the chances of this happening in the future.
It's not like an if, but it's a when. And then it's not like a, hey, this is emergent for you to find, but it would be urgent because we would like our money back when our stuff as well. Mary, for the show coming up later on today, where can we find it? And then where can we go to find your newsletter as well?
If you want to watch the show today and get all of the down low on cargo theft, you can go and watch it on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to FreightWaves and hit the notification bell so you miss none of our content. And then if you want to if you want to read the newsletter, you can subscribe to that on freightwaves.com/checkcall. And if listening's more your thing, you can listen to the new episodes on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or honestly anywhere you get your podcasts.
All right, Mary, thanks for joining us this morning, and we will catch up with you next week.
Thanks, guys. Bye.